Now, for this field trip, I decided to go to Monticello, home of free and enslaved slaves. Monticello plantation is approximately 5,000 acres. It's divided into four farms consisting of the Monticello Hill Farm, Tufton, Lego, and Shadwell farms. It took them approximately 40 years to build Monticello, which is a long time. Now, Thomas Jefferson, one of our founding fathers, the third president of the United States, it was interesting to find out that he was a scientist as well. He created a cipher wheel, which is used to create a secret message and code, and then a part of a plow, which is called a mold board of least resistance. Also, was interesting to find out that he was a farmer prior to being a president, as well as a lawyer. So that explains all the different um, gardens that he had on the plantation. He was also governor of Virginia before being the president of the United States. Now, Thomas Jefferson, he was raised in a society that depended on slavery and slaves for everything. So the slaves, they took care of him when he was younger. They also went to school with him to make sure he was taken care of then, as well as with his siblings. Very early in his public life, he voiced his opinion of why he was against slavery. But he at the same time owned his own slaves. Now, in 1778, Thomas Jefferson introduced a law in Virginia which prohibited importation of enslaved Africans. It's kind of contradicting itself because he had his own slaves, but at the same time, he's trying to stop slavery or help stop slavery. Um, Best friend Marquis de Lafayette. It was interesting to find out that a lot of the time they used to go back and forth or battle each other about Thomas Jefferson's opinion of having his own slaves. Lafayette felt that that was wrong, and is again contradicting everything that he's saying. Thomas Jefferson is saying that all men should be treated equally or created equally, but yet he has his own slaves working for him on his plantation. So Lafayette felt some type of way about that. He really didn't like that. Now here we have Marlborough Row. This is where a lot of the slaves stayed as well as the white workers. Um, Typically in one cabin it would be approximately 14 slaves, and then next side you'll see how big it is on the inside, so it's kind of hard to see how you could fit 14 people in there. Here's a reconstruction of the Hemings house. Elizabeth Hemings and her children were inherited by Thomas Jefferson's father-in-law. They helped build Monticello as well as cook the Jefferson's meals, care for their children and grandchildren. What's interesting is one of Elizabeth Hemings' daughters, Sally Hemings, is said to be the mother of four of Thomas Jefferson's children. There was some testing done in 1998 that found a trace of Jefferson's bloodline and a member of the Hemings family, so that's definitely interesting. Um, on the other side here, you'll see the chart that shows you the limit on Marbury Row. Underneath the Jefferson household is a passageway where the slaves used to travel. We'll definitely get into that in some of the slides here, but it will show you where the living quarters were for the slaves, as well as you will have different shops along the row of where they worked as well. Now here is the inside of the cabin that you'll see now. So again, it's kind of hard to picture 14 people standing there, although there is a passage underneath the cabin where some things will go as well. But still, it's I couldn't imagine 14 people being in there. Now here is more of Marlbury Row. This is actually John Hemmings' original shop chimney. He was a great carpenter. A lot of the work done in the Monticello household you will see is his. Things like the shelving, the tables, the furniture, a lot of that is what he created. Also, you'll see here the wash house and the stone house of where it used to be. So there's a lot of things on Marbury Road. Now, a lot of the time, these slaves they worked as weavers, spinners, blacksmiths, stablesmen, just to name a few. And as far as the children, anywhere from 6 to 10, they helped care for the younger enslaved kids. But once they turned 10, that's when they got their real jobs. So a lot of the time, the boys will go into needlery, and the women would go into textile shops. So they always had jobs. Once they reach the age of 16 and prove their skills in their job, potentially they may move to a different job. So that was kind of hard there. Now, a lot of the enslaved families at Monticello, they were the Hemmings family, the Gillettes, the Hearns, the Fawcett's, the Gringers, and also the Hubbards. Now, under the South Pavilion was the smokehouse, the kitchen, the cook's living quarters as well. What was interesting to me was how close the living quarters for the cooks were to the kitchen, because they wanted to make sure they can get them when they needed them. The kitchen is kind of actually large, so it doesn't seem like they would have a hard time moving around if there was a lot of people in there at all. In their living quarters, there was a small table that had like reading material on there, so they were learning to read as well. One of Thomas Jefferson's grandchildren would actually help the slaves learn to read. Now, here's a cellar passage that I was referring to. A lot of the time when Thomas Jefferson had company, these slaves would be down there. So here you have the ring for service. So say if he needed one of his slaves or servants, he would ring that bell and they can go up the door on the right hand side or the left hand side and go up to wherever he was and make sure they get things taken care of. Here you also have the delivery of the wine. Whenever he had company, this would take the wine to where the main table was. They would drop the ball down. The slave will put more wine there and send it back up. So it was really, really, really crazy to see that. From my understanding, they loved wine. So in the cellars, there was a lot of wine bottles as well as barrels. So I'll show you some more slides of those as well. Now here is more of the passage again. You'll see the storage cellar, the wine cellar. They also have some artifacts as well that were found from when they were doing some research around Monticello. So it was interesting to see that as well. Now here's a couple of the servants that they had in the passage that you can see and read some information of. They had a lot more, but this is just a couple. Priscilla Hemings, she actually was the helper for Martha Jefferson and her husband. Here she's holding their son Louis, and she was also known as Mammy or Aunt Priscilla. Israel, he used to drive the horse for Thomas Jefferson. He would also get wood and things of that nature and bring it back to the house. Once he was free, he actually moved to Ohio and inherited the last name Jefferson. So he went by Israel Jefferson from that point on once he moved. Now here is a couple pictures of the gardens, the flower gardens and the vegetable gardens. The flowers were so beautiful there. I definitely enjoyed seeing those. And there's all different types of flowers that you can see there, as well as the vegetables as well. Now here is Thomas Jefferson's final resting place. Um, it was very, very nice to see this, as well as interesting as well. When you walk around the cemetery, you'll see some of the headstones. You're able to see whose they are. One thing that shocked me was there was recently someone buried here. The dirt was still fresh, so it was very recent. Wasn't able to see who it was on the headstone. I tried doing some research on it, still wasn't able to see it then. So but that was definitely interesting. All right, now after Thomas Jefferson's death, in today's money, he left a debt of $107,000. He was thinking that the profits from the plantation would help keep everything going, so that way it can stay at his family. However, things didn't turn out that way. In January, a lot of the land as well as the belongings were sold. 700 slaves were freed from his will, and those slaves consisted of the Hemmings family. But a lot of the slaves that he had that worked for him for over 60 years, they were sold on that day. I do want to just wrap things up here and say it was definitely eye-opening and breathtaking to go to Monticello. Also took my kids along for the journey so they can learn as well while I was doing the same. So they definitely enjoyed themselves as well. I do want to thank Professional Critchfield for the opportunity of doing this, and I hope you all have a great day.